This goalkeeper had secret notes on his water bottle to save penalties, and this player tricked Cristiano Ronaldo in the most genius way possible. These are crazy penalties you won't believe are real. Let's kick things off with this goaltender that had the greatest hack for penalties. Take a close look at this goalkeeper's water bottle. See those tiny notes written all over it? Those little scrambles saved his team from losing. The keeper studied every penalty taker on the other team. He wrote down exactly where each player liked to shoot. Left corner, right corner, middle. He had it all mapped out. When penalty time came, he just looked at his bottle and dove the right way every single time. Bruno Fernandes was having none of the goalkeeper's mind games. The keeper kept pointing at corners, dancing around, trying everything to distract him. But Bruno walked up calmly and absolutely destroyed him with the most perfect penalty you've ever seen. Then Bruno turned to the keeper and gave him a little wave. That's how you respond to trash talk, with pure class and perfect execution. During his run-up, this player slipped and fell flat on his face, but instead of stopping, he got back up and somehow managed to still kick the ball toward the goal. The shot was terrible, going way wide of target, but the effort was so incredible that even the opposing fans started cheering. Sometimes the attempt is more impressive than the result. David Beckham, one of the greatest penalty takers ever, completely fell for the goalkeeper's tricks. The keeper kept pointing to one corner, shouting and gesturing. Beckham got so distracted trying to outsmart the mind games that he sent his penalty flying way over the crossbar. Even legends can get rattled when the mental pressure gets too intense. The goalkeeper's celebration was absolutely wild. Japanese football is known for creative plays, and this penalty was pure art. Instead of a normal run-up, the player did 3 little jumps, spun around twice, and then gently tapped the ball into the corner. It looked like a dance routine mixed with football. The technique was so unique that even the opposing team started laughing and clapping. Creativity at its absolute finest. Now, that move was funny, but this next moment, the shot literally left the stadium. Alexander Panto tried to make a penalty with style, but what happened next was legendary for all the wrong reasons. He wound up for a massive shot and completely skied the ball. We're talking about a penalty that flew so high and so far that people joked it might have landed in the parking lot. The crowd couldn't stop laughing. Even Panto was smiling at how badly he messed up that one. In 2018, Aries Adores did something that made everybody's jaw drop. He walked up to take a penalty, but didn't take any steps back. No run-up at all. He just stood there next to the ball and kicked it straight into the net. The goalkeeper had no time to react. It looked so easy because it takes nerves of steel to pull this off. One tiny mistake and you look like a fool in front of thousands of fans. Ronaldinho scored one of the most beautiful penalties ever for AC Milan. He didn't mess around with tricks or fancy moves. He just smashed the ball so hard it nearly broke the roof of the net. The goalkeeper, Casillas, couldn't even move. The ball was past him before he could blink. Pure power, perfect placement. That's how you show everyone you're the master. Speaking of masters, let's see how these legends handle pressure. Zinedine Zidane had ice in his veins during Euro 2000. In the semifinal against Portugal, he stepped up for a penalty that could win or lose the game. No hesitation, no second thoughts. He blasted the ball into the top corner like it was the easiest thing in the world. Portugal went home, France moved on. That's what separates good players from legends. In 2015, Messi scored a Panenka penalty that was so perfect, even Antonin Panenka himself said it was the best he'd ever seen. Think about that for a second. The man who invented the move said Messi did it better than anyone else. The clip was so gentle, so precise. The goalkeeper dove to his right while the ball floated softly into the middle. Pure class. Jabral Cease hit a penalty so hard and so perfectly placed that something crazy happened. The ball got stuck in the corner of the net. Not just caught in the net, actually stuck. The power was insane, but the accuracy was even better. You hit the ball hard all day long, but hitting it hard and in the exact right spot, that's special. But not every penalty needs power to be amazing. Rabocha pulled off something that seemed impossible. He did a Panenka penalty that didn't go up in the air. Instead, the ball skimmed along the ground in the most gentle way. It looked like the ball was floating on water. The goalkeeper expected a normal Panenka and jumped. The ball rolled under him into the net. Genius. Paul Pogba took the slowest run-up in penalty history. His approach was so slow you could make a cup of coffee and come back before he kicked the ball. The goalkeeper was going crazy trying to figure out when the shot would come, but Pogba stayed calm and scored anyway. Sometimes mind games work in the strangest ways. Asad Ali from the Maldives did something nobody'd ever seen before. During his run-up, he tripped over his own feet and nearly fell. But instead of stopping, he kept going and hammered the ball into the net. Was it on purpose? Nobody knows. But it worked perfectly. The goalkeeper was so confused, he didn't even try to save it. Now, let's look at some penalties that changed history. Antonin Panenka invented the most famous penalty technique ever in 1976. In the European Championship final, with his whole country watching, he decided to try something completely new. Instead of shooting hard, he gently chipped the ball right down the middle. The goalkeeper dove to one side. The ball floated into the empty net. Czechoslovakia won their first major tournament. One penalty changed everything. Johan Cruyff and Jasper Olsen created the most creative penalty ever at Ajax. Instead of shooting, Cruyff rolled the ball sideways to Olsen, who was running in. Olsen tapped it into the empty net. The goalkeeper was still waiting for the shot when the ball was already in the goal. It was legal, it was genius, and it shocked the football world. Jonah Jorkinen did something that had never been seen in football. He scored a penalty while doing a backflip. As he kicked the ball, he flipped backward through the air. The ball went in. The crowd went absolutely wild. It was show-off at its finest. But when you score, nobody can complain. But now, let's switch gears and talk about mind games. During a big match, the goalkeeper tried to mess with Sergio Ramos before his penalty. He talked trash, pointed at corners, did everything he could to get in Ramos's head. And it worked. Ramos sent his penalty flying over the crossbar. Sometimes the mental game is more important than the physical one. While VAR was checking a penalty decision, something hilarious happened. Tesson made a bet with Messi right there on the field. He said, "I'll bet you €100 that the referee won't give this penalty." Well, the penalty was given. Tesson lost his money, but he admitted it with a smile after the game. Even losing €100 was worth the story. In 2006, Zinedine Zidane did something that still gives people chills. In the World Cup final, with the biggest prize in football on the line, he decided to try a Penalty penalty against Gianluigi Buffon, the greatest goalkeeper in the world versus the greatest midfielder. Zidane chipped it right down the middle. Buffon guessed wrong. Nerves of steel. But goalkeepers can be heroes too, because this next moment will shock you. Joe Hart proved that goalkeepers can do everything. First, he took a penalty himself and scored with perfect placement. Then, in the same penalty shootout, he saved the next penalty from the other team. Taking penalties is hard. Saving penalties is hard. Doing both in the same shootout? That's legendary. In a penalty shootout, one goalkeeper saved 3 penalties in a row. Not 1, not 2, but 3 straight saves. By the 3rd save, the crowd was on their feet screaming. The opposing team couldn't believe what was happening. Sometimes one player can change everything with just their hands. Kylian Mbappe did something that showed his character. Instead of trying to confuse the goalkeeper, he actually gave him a heads up about where the penalty was going, but he still scored anyway. It was like saying, "I'm so good, I can tell you where I'm shooting and you still can't stop me." That confidence. Now it's time for some of the most dramatic moments ever. Luis Suarez got sent off for the most famous handball in World Cup history. He used his hands to stop a goal on the goal line. Red card, penalty kick, but he saved his country. The opposing player had to score the penalty to knock Uruguay out of the World Cup. He missed. Suarez watched from the stands as Uruguay survived. Sometimes the most controversial plays work out perfectly. Emi Martinez became a penalty shootout legend at the 2022 World Cup. He didn't just make saves. He got inside every player's head. He danced on his goal line, talked to the penalty takers, pointed at corners. The mental pressure was so intense that great players started missing. Argentina won the World Cup partly because their goalkeeper was a master of mind games. Here's a story that sounds made up, but really happened. Mohamed Salah told the Egyptian goalkeeper exactly where his Liverpool teammate Sadio Mane would place his penalty. Salah knew Mane's habits from training together every day. When penalty time came, the goalkeeper dove to the exact right spot and made the save. Teammate against teammate, and inside information won. But sometimes the craziest moments happen when things go wrong. A goalkeeper saved a penalty, but fouled the shooter at the same time. He got a yellow card. Then he argued with the referee and got a second yellow card. Red card, off the field. With no substitutions left, an outfield player had to go in goal. And somehow, that outfield player almost saved the retaken penalty. Football can be completely unpredictable sometimes. Ederson from Manchester City thought he was clever. When facing a penalty, he pointed to one corner of the goal, trying to trick the shooter into going the other way. But the penalty taker was smarter. He saw Ederson pointing and shot exactly where he pointed. Goal scored. Mind games failed. Sometimes being too clever backfires completely. Even the best players get nervous. One superstar completely messed up his penalty, sending it way over the crossbar. But the referee ordered a retake because the goalkeeper moved too early. Second chance, same result. The ball went flying over the goal again. Some days, nothing goes right no matter how many chances you get. If you think that was crazy, wait until you see some of the most creative penalties ever. One player did something nobody had ever seen before. Instead of shooting the penalty with power, he literally tucked the ball into the net like he was putting a baby to sleep. The touch was so gentle, the ball barely had enough speed to cross the goal line. But it went in, and that's all that matters. Taya Bawana from the UAE tried the most ridiculous penalty technique ever. He turned completely around and hit the penalty with his heel while facing backward. The ball went in, but his coach was so angry about the disrespect that he substituted him immediately. Sometimes scoring isn't enough if you show off too much. Years ago, a player hit a penalty so hard that it ripped straight through the net. The power was unbelievable. The ball went through the goal and out the other side like a cannonball. But here's the crazy part. The referee didn't count the goal. He said since the ball went through the net and instead of into it, it wasn't a proper goal. Can you imagine the arguments after that decision? During one penalty, the goalkeeper literally started dancing in front of the shooter. He waved his arms, jumped around, did everything possible to distract the penalty taker. And it worked. The shooter was laughing so hard he couldn't concentrate properly and missed the target completely. Sometimes the best defense is just being completely ridiculous. And finally, the most unbelievable moment of all. This last story's so crazy it sounds fake, but it really happened. During a penalty shootout, the players got so angry with the referee that they decided to protest in the most unusual way. They started missing penalties on purpose. Player after player stepped up and deliberately shot the ball over the goal or wide of the posts. Even the goalkeeper stopped trying to make saves. It was like watching a comedy show instead of a football match. The beautiful game of football never stops surprising us. From genius techniques to crazy mind games, from perfect shots to epic failures, penalties give us some of the most memorable moments in sports. These moments prove that when pressure is at its highest, anything can happen. The next time you watch a penalty, remember that you might be witnessing the next crazy moment that nobody will believe is real.